And now I'd like to open the meeting for the sharing of testimonies of healing through Christian Science. Jim from Arizona, go ahead.
Thank you. I am most grateful for Christian Science and its quick and rapid healing power. Last night, about 11:30, I was awakened by a chest pain. And I immediately said, "Get out of there." And it got out. I am most grateful for Christian Science and its healing power. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom from Iowa, go ahead.
I'm grateful for something a practitioner gave me a while ago. It's a statement from Science and Health by Mary Baker Eddy on page 192. Whatever holds human thought in line with unself love receives directly the divine power. And I hadn't used that for a while, and I thought of it last night suddenly, and then I started to remember what the practitioner taught me before, to pray for my community, state, nation, and world. And so I did this faithfully and felt better afterwards. So I just want to give thanks for that again, and thank you for those readings.
Thank you. Gary?
I was thinking recently, one of the many life lessons that I've learned in this church, for which I'm very grateful, is the lesson to just let go of what I shouldn't be holding on to. And because when I first got here, I had this compulsion to control everything in my life. I just wanted to be in control. And whenever I was faced with any kind of a problem, I would analyze it to death and weigh the alternatives. And by the time I got around to doing something about it, it was either usually too late or wrong or both. And I would have to retrace my steps and oftentimes just clean up, something done wrong. And it was a practitioner in this church who taught me that only God can and does control anything in our lives. And it's really kind of foolish for me to think that I could possibly control anything except my own thinking. And that when faced with a problem, the best thing that any of us can do is to just put all the human theories out and listen for God's voice. And when I get an answer of peace, then act on it immediately. In Psalm 119, there's a verse that was given to me by this practitioner. And it goes, "Thy word is a lamp unto my feet, and a light unto my path." And I was told that God does guide us correctly, even when we can't clearly see the way ourselves. And God knows better than I do what is right for me. And I'm grateful to say that I'm learning to trust this. And as a result, I feel much closer to God, and I feel much more confident about my life, knowing that it is under God's control. I'm very grateful for this help that I've received and for the practitioner that has taught me so much about real, true Christian Science in this church. It's so good to be here tonight.
Thank you. Joanne from Florida, go ahead.
I have so much that I want to give thanks for tonight. the Lesson Sermon Forum, where we can share our morning communion with God, the inspiring Bible study and roundtable sessions, the wealth of good on the website, and above all, these broadcast church services that provide me and the whole world with the blessing of attending remotely. Being able to be part of all this has given me back joy and purpose in my life and is filling it with hope and continuing good. Those readings tonight were absolutely beautiful. The true spirit of the Christmas season is going forth as this healing service, comforting and calming, and I am so very grateful for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Linda from Pennsylvania, go ahead.
Good evening. I want to thank the readers for the beautiful, powerful, and timely readings for tonight and the beautiful music. I am very grateful to Mrs. Eddy for establishing the Wednesday service that includes the sharing of testimonies. I have been greatly blessed by others sharing their personal experiences. Sometimes it's something I need right there to hear at that moment. Others have helped me think differently about the past, and others blessed a moment later down the road. The inspiration is as varied as the many unique individuals who share. On Thanksgiving, the spirit of one of the testifiers the night before made me more thoughtful and aware of communing with God throughout the day, especially during busy times. This was helpful to have this reminder as I am changing my old patterns and thinking differently around this season, the activities in this season, from Thanksgiving to Christmas. These were often stressful and unsatisfying times, and this is changing because of Plainfield's teaching. I am learning to keep God in the center of what I do. I appreciate very much the way Plainfield does all they can to keep the integrity of these meetings and to all that is shared. And I'd like to end with something I found in an article by Doris White Evans called Blessed Christmas. She writes, "We have the present moment to live and send the healing Christ message to all the world." Thank you.
Thank you. Fairley from Maryland, go ahead. Okay, Fairley, we don't hear you. You may be on mute where you are.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say a word and give a word of gratitude and thanks for the Wednesday night testimony meetings where we can hear and share with others our experiences and the ways in which we've been helped. And I also want to express gratitude for the forum, because there we also had the chance to share with one another ways in which we have used Christian Science and how it has been meaningful to us. And a couple of weeks ago, a particular writing on the forum by a member of the church was very helpful to me, because I was faced with a problem that I really couldn't see my way out of. And she wrote, she remembered thinking at times when she couldn't see her way out of some problem, she would say, well, how is God going to make this happen? And that struck a chord with me. I've always tried to let go and let God, but this particular way of saying it just helped me so much, and I used it all through the middle of this problem. And it was indeed very relieving, because it really made me let go and let God see how He would unfold the situation. And it has gradually begun to unfold. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lil?
I'm very grateful for this week's watching point, number 149, which helped heal a problem in my head. Monday, I woke up with a strange sensation in my head. When I touched any of my upper teeth, I got a hollow sound, echo sound in my head. It was a little bit scary. I strongly declared this was not true about God, and as his reflection, not true about me, and held to that. Then I recalled part of the watching point, which really helped, which was, the scientific effort is not to establish good, but to realize that good is already established as a present reality. True work is not to make good present, ever present, but to awaken, to recognize it. I work with this all day, and thank to God, all the work has been given me. I thank God for all the work and the good that he has given me through all these years before I went to sleep. When I awoke, I was healed. I just couldn't stop thanking God. He has been such a love, and he's just taking care of every one of my needs. And I'm grateful to be a member of this church. And thank you for those wonderful readings.
Thank you. Elizabeth from Georgia, go ahead.
Last week there was a day when I just started to feel a headache coming on. I woke up and felt it, and I've grappled with this before. It seems about every few weeks I seem to have a pressure in my upper back and head, which lasts for about 24 hours and then goes away. And I laid there and I thought, I'm not going to accept it this time. One thing we're taught here is, that's helped me, is to determine if a thought has come from God, and if it hasn't, it can be dismissed because it has no cause or power. And so I knew that to be true. And I also worked with the statement that was in the lesson last week: truth, life, and love is the law of annihilation to everything unlike themselves, because they declare nothing except God. And within 10 minutes, the discomfort just left, and I was just able to get up and go about my day free and not have to deal with that for the next 24 hours. So I'm so grateful, and grateful for what I'm learning. Thank you.
Thank you. Chardell from Pennsylvania, go ahead.
Thank you. First of all, the readings are perfect. And tonight, I want to give gratitude to Plainfield Church. Fear ye not the violence of the shootings in our country at the hands of our own citizens. We will not stand aghast, but heal with truth and love. Plainfield has taught me about facing evil. We will stand with God and not be shaken. Because of what I have learned at Plainfield, I know that we will work in unity to destroy the belief that God's man is not under his control, because God's man is. God made man in his own image, and he will not be mocked. Woe unto evil beliefs that seem to have control. God wins. Truth is always the victor. Harmony is the only law. Thank you, Plainfield Church.
Thank you. Jeremy.
I am so grateful to God for bringing me to this church. Christian Science, as being taught here, is changing what everything in life means to me, and all for the absolute better. I have two examples. Thanksgiving Day used to be my favorite day of the year. There were maybe 3 hours in which my family could be drama-free while we were too full of turkey and stuffing to fight. When it was over, I would feel such depression. Now, Thanksgiving is a day of peace and love, and every day is a day of thanksgiving and closeness to God. What an abundant blessing Christian Science has brought me. I'm also incredibly grateful for the watching that is done at this church. Before coming here, I knew nothing at all about Christian Science or watching, but now I know that God has given a method to effectively deal with the constant barrage of beliefs and fear that I was under my whole life, and it is astounding. Now, when a negative thought comes to me, I no longer embrace it. In Plainfield, we are taught to fight back with truth and love. What a concept this is, and to feel how concretely this works in all situations has been a profoundly moving experience. I'm so grateful to God for bringing me here and to this church and its members for standing against every claim that tried to bring it down, so that there was a church waiting for me and others when we finally were ready. I'm grateful to Jesus, Mrs. Eddy, and the early workers for passing on the importance of watching, and to my practitioner and those who work on the watches for being patient with me and consistently ready to work. The fear that I once thought was me is gone, and even if that were the only healing I ever had from Christian Science, it is worth a lifetime of service to God to show my gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you. Craig.
Those are wonderful readings. I thank those that provided them, and Mary Baker and the Bible for all the content. This, I learned a few things, many things, from one of the practitioners here, and it led me to be able to be more stable and not be pushed by a negative thought. A couple of weeks ago in service, she recited something from an early worker. I see my brother perfectly. I see my brother seeing me perfectly, and I see my brother seeing me seeing him perfectly, or as a child of God. I'm not quite sure. And all that was such good armor and positive thought to keep me on the right side, on God's side, on the positive side, and not to let the negativity of any thought, to pull me into that spot where I'm no good to do anything good or for anyone else or to lift anybody. It has made a great difference. I find that if I can keep these hymns and these beautiful thoughts of seeking God's direction and will, that I can know the right thing to do. For instance, during the holiday, I was careful to pray where I should be, and it was a harmonious holiday. I'd have some relatives that need love occasionally, and they're homebound, but God directed me how to see them, and also was able to get to church and had a wonderful time, which was uplifting and strengthening. And then I was able to go see my dad to fix some things that he repaired. But because I had the truth with me, I knew what to do and what not to do. Not to feel drawn that I had to fix every little thing because he was my dad, but just what God wants, when he wants. And it all worked out. I fixed his bed and I got back on the road before too long, and was able to get home, and we all had a nice little, everything worked out beautifully. And I got to church the next day feeling good. But without those positive thoughts and knowing how to defend and protect myself to keep getting positive thoughts, God thoughts, very little good would have done. I wouldn't have been much use to anybody. I thank this church and Mary Baker Eddy for providing us this armor and the love.
Thank you. Carol.
When I first came to this church, I had an awful lot of fears. One of my big ones was of the dark. If I was in the basement of my house, I couldn't get up those stairs fast enough. And I spoke to a practitioner about that because the fear was just overwhelming. And the practitioner reminded me what it says in the Bible, perfect love casteth out fear. And she told me that what you love, you can't be afraid of. So that was really quite an awakening. And I thought the more I love my home, I was not afraid of the dark in it anymore. And I thought about that a lot. And it was getting my thought off me. How does everything affect me? Is this going to bother me? But instead loving and loving out and thinking, how is this going to bless someone else? What I'm doing, is this good? Is this from God? And boy, that has made such a difference in my life. I am so very grateful. I have no fear anymore, and it's a much better existence. I am extremely grateful for the practitioner help that I've had over the years and for help I'm getting right now as well. And very grateful to Mrs. Eddy for giving us this wonderful way of life. And thank you, girls, for those readings. They were lovely.
Thank you. This is Bruce. I wanted to give my thanks because God has taken care of us yet again. Seems like he always does, doesn't he? Well, as you probably had heard, our church got some new concrete recently in the front of the church. It was quite a project, but it's beautiful. And I was outside shortly after the masons had finished, just thanking God for it, and then it was like I heard the voice, well, this is my blessing for the church that shines out on the community here. Now you need to have respect for this blessing and treat it right. So I started doing some research. What do I need to do now? And I realized that I needed to get a product that would seal and protect the concrete. And I had no idea what to get even. But God opened up the way in a rather unusual way. I found the product that was appropriate for us. And it said it had to be applied after 21 days the concrete was poured, and there was a temperature range outside, and there couldn't be any rain for more than 12 hours. Well, day number 21, after the concrete was poured, was Friday after Thanksgiving. And on that day, early in the morning, it was already in the mid-40s, and it rose up to 60 degrees that particular day, if you can imagine, in this area at the end of November. So it was my golden opportunity. I put the product on the concrete, and we did not have rain for more than 24 hours thereafter. So I just had to say, I'm in awe at you, Heavenly Father, for opening the way to do the right thing. And thank you for your wonderful blessings and the opportunity to serve you. And I pray that I listen more carefully to his unerring guidance. Florence or Dede, go ahead.
This is Dede. Thank you. Someone mentioned the quick healing power of Christian Science earlier tonight, and I'm also grateful for this. 2 nights ago, I was suddenly overcome with a cough, which was quickly followed by a runny nose. I immediately thought of several people that had recently mentioned their suffering from a cold. And the next thought was, I have not got cold. From Mrs. Eddy's article, I've Got Cold, found on the Plainfield website. I followed this with repeating the scientific statement of being a few times and went about my night, and I was not bothered by any signs of a cold after that. I'm so grateful that I'm learning not to stand for or to accept anything for myself or my fellow man that is not from God, and to continue to denounce aggressive negative claims as quickly as they appear. I'm so grateful for all the work that is going on here that is strengthening us daily. And thank you so much for tonight's readings.
Thank you. Sharon?
The last couple days, it's been very stressful in my office, and on Tuesday, it kind of really came to a head, and the owner was really off the wall. And I had the opportunity just to go look for something in my office and to pray with no one around. And I remembered what a practitioner told me, God is my employer. And I thought, that's all I need to listen to. I just need to be peaceful and listen for God's voice. And the meetings, they continued, but they calmed down. Today, when I got home that last night, I prayed a little bit and I realized that he gets wrapped up by the holidays and the belief of the end of the year. And I just knew there's no beginning and no end. God's good is continuous, and nobody has to buy that. Well, this morning when I went to the office, there was an email, and it said sorry for something. And I thought that was a complete healing. He realized that he was out of control, and today the times that we met were peaceful and harmonious. I am just so grateful to God for giving us Christian Science and Mary Baker Eddy for listening for God's voice, and the practitioner who always turns me to God, and when I need it, the truth is right there. I am so grateful to have this wonderful religion and that it's available for everyone everywhere. And thank you for the readings.
Thank you. Benjamin.
Yeah. I just remembered what God did for me, because if I don't share the testimony, I'm not being grateful. I've forgotten what God has done. A few weeks ago, I went on vacation with my co-workers, and we went to Virginia for a company retreat. During the time we stayed over there were so many of us, I don't even know how many, but it was quite a few people. After a few days after we arrived over there, some of my co-workers got sick. Nobody knew where the virus came from. They seem to have what they call stomach virus. They don't know if it came from the food or it came from the hotel. I wasn't aware of it when it was going on, but I was hearing the rumor that there are some people who got sick who went to the hospital. And nobody knew exactly why. And a lot of people were so scared and cautious about it. And when I got the information, 3 people already were sent to the emergency room. And the thought came to me immediately that he knew that I wasn't alone, that God travels with me everywhere. And I was absolute in my conviction that God was with me, that nothing but good was going on. And I was able to assure people that were sharing room with me that they shouldn't be afraid that nothing will happen to us. And what was remarkable about it was I got the information after 3 people got sick. And after that, nobody else got sick afterward. And we were all perfectly fine, and we continued to live the way we were living, having good time, and they also eating every food that was available. Nobody else got sick because God took control of that thing, because I committed everybody into His hand, the situation, our traveling, all our activities into His hand, and making sure that everybody was, in good health. And I'm so grateful that I came here and be able to learn I have to commit things to God's hand, because if I had not done so, who knows how many people that could have gone sick? Or if I had let them to keep a secret to go on, maybe I could have gone sick too. But the spray of the virus stopped immediately after I got the information. And I'm just so grateful to God who took care of everything, who always with me, taking care of me and taking care of everything that I'm involved in. Thank you.
Thank you. Suzanne from Vermont, go ahead.
Good evening. I wanted to express my gratitude for this church, for the strong teachings that really occur all the time, not just once a year at association, but every day on the forum, in speaking with our practitioners, in hearing all these wonderful testimonies, and in having all the wonderful resources on our website. I feel challenged every day to learn more and also to express more love towards my fellow man and to reach out in ways that I never did before. I thank Plainfield for not only transforming my life, but turning me into an active participant in Christian Science and feeling a sense of purpose that I've never felt before. I'm grateful to the practitioners who are available day and night and who pray for us when needed. I am very grateful for this help, because there's no other place that I would turn for help but to our practitioners and to the Plainfield Church. I love these services. I love all the testimonies, and I'm very grateful to be here tonight.
Thank you. Florence from Georgia, go ahead. Did we lose Florence? Okay, Florence, we don't hear you. Okay, Mary?
I'll read a few things tonight. Our church bulletin board, Georgia. Thank you for the articles on the carousel. Every one of them is inspiring and helpful. Then a couple from Costa Rica. Such a wonderful service this Sunday, November 29th. The reading and the hymns were perfect, and the rendering of Psalm 91 was fun yet moving. And also, the readings Wednesday evening were great. Thanks, ladies. And Pennsylvania, thanks to Joseph in the UK for his recent testimony, which finally put me over the top with my desire to mark Science and Health in the Bible rather than reading the weekly lessons from the full text quarterly. Yesterday, with what I had on hand, no markers, I was able to mark the books very nicely, and what a delight it was for me to read the lessons from the books. Thanks, Plainfield, for the multitudinous ways the church blesses one and all. And then New Jersey, thank you very much, Joseph, for sending us the article the day after Thanksgiving, written by Mrs. Eddy in 1864. It is so interesting to get a glimpse into her life at that time. And Maryland, I just came from moderating this week's Bible study class. Not only was this an eye-opening experience in which I had the good fortune of learning more about King Hezekiah and his amazing life, but I feel so uplifted by everyone's answers, insight, and the discussion that I've come away with so much more than ever before. What a wonderful way to get to know the Bible better. I knew nothing of Hezekiah before, and to know God better. As I said, everyone should try it. You'll like it. Thank you all for your help by participating today. It has been a blessing. And this email from, I believe it's California, to our clerk. She says, "We are so blessed to have Christian Science in our lives, are we not? And for the blessings of modern technology, which I sometimes find quite challenging, but am learning to use and appreciate all that it offers in spreading the word. I found myself at home instead of attending church on Sunday morning. Then I was able to first read from our hymnal, number 195, then listened via telephone to our weekly Bible lesson, then spent a most harmonious time listening to many of the hymns recorded of your congregation singing. It was a beautiful Sunday morning. Blessings were added this morning when I listened and read simultaneously our Thanksgiving Day service online. I just couldn't keep that to myself. I forwarded the program to a Filipino friend. Don't know about her religious background, but I just felt the need to spread it all with so much gratitude." Tonight, I would just like to say how grateful I am to be here. Beautiful readings and testimonies. I thought I would conclude tonight. I've been thinking of how when I first came here, how much I wanted to help certainly in science, also to help mankind. And I felt, well, what could I do? Just one person. It was really hopeless. I shouldn't even bother to try. And practitioner quickly turned that around and gave me something I've never forgotten. I've given it before, but I'll conclude tonight with this. It's from Pulpit and Press by Mary Baker Eddy, starting on page 3. "Perchance some of you may say, the evidence of spiritual verity in me is so small that I am afraid. I feel so far from victory over the flesh that to reach out for a present realization of my hope savors of timidity. Because of my own unfitness for such a spiritual animus, my strength is naught, and my faith fails. O thou weak and infirm of purpose, Jesus said, 'Be not afraid.'" And then this quote, "What if the little rain should say, 'So small a drop as I can ne'er refresh a drooping earth, I'll tarry in the sky.' Is not man metaphysically and mathematically number one, a unit, and therefore a whole number, governed and protected by his divine principle, God? You have simply to preserve a scientific, positive sense of unity with your divine source and daily demonstrate this. Then you will find that one is as important a factor as duodecillions in being and doing right, and thus demonstrating deific principle. A dewdrop reflects the sun. Each of Christ's little ones reflects the infinite one, and therefore is the seer's declaration true that one on God's side is a majority. A single drop of water may help to hide the stars or crown the tree with blossoms." That's what we're all finding here, our individual worth, our purpose in life, and each individual is important. So grateful to have learned this, to have gotten rid of that sense of what can I do, what cannot we do with God's help.
Thank you.